It's been a few weeks, so welcome back. All trains of thought have been sold for scrap. I'm keen to push on to the final area of the game, so I'll try and make these as quick as I can. But all this was recorded beforehand, so this puzzle takes a while. It involves a lot of back and forth. The way it plays out is nothing unusual, so onto the text logs. I never got around to talking about the ones from this room. Firstly, more about Osiris and the path to the underworld. He talks about the fearsome demons of the Duat, their terrible forms, loathsome to behold, but they are servants of the gods, blessed doorkeepers and guardians. And this is all mythologically sound. We've already found out there were paths, there were gates, guarded by 3 gods each, one of whom is Nehebkau, who's depicted as a snake with 2 heads. And it kinda loses me there. If it wants me to consider the floating orbs as loathsome, it'll have to look somewhere else. I'm trying to work out what I need here. I think I've made all the use I can out of this red one back here. The log goes on to talk about ancient gods whose names have been forgotten, spirits of darkness that must be avoided at all costs. And if the guardians of the Duat are analogous with these floating orbs and turrets, then surely this is foreshadowing for some greater peril. There's too much going on in that room to take it all in without playing about with it myself. Anyway, from the sounds of it, the style of the game, the tone maybe, is going to shift a bit. A bit more danger perhaps. Although I think it's probably talking about Elohim as the ancient god and, I've completely forgotten his name. John Milton, Spirit of Darkness, of course. The text log says that they too might serve a greater purpose that Osiris has not revealed to us, alluding to an even greater power. Who created the gods? Who deigns the existence of the deities? Explanation where none was warranted. One of many running jokes in our house is misuse of the word deign. We have fun. Even standing on a box, I'm not tall enough to put this connector up on the ledge. I'm going to need to use all 3 boxes from the chamber. Yeah, I wouldn't put it past the game to insert an even more powerful being at this stage. We're about halfway through. It fits what we've read so far. Elohim is clearly not all-powerful. This box is giving me ideas. Inspiration can strike at any time. The final bit of the log file. Again, this is all quotated speech. And what of the hidden paths that are taken by corrupted, when the corrupted? Well, the Book of the Hidden Chamber details the gateways and areas of the Duat. It's also the first completely illustrated book in recorded history, and does so by dividing itself by 12 hours along the arc of the sun, and under each hour are significant events and areas of the Duat, divided as they are in that way. It's hard to go into detail about how it's depicted. It has a netherworldly Nile. Different orientations give the narrative a different flow. It's about the Duat itself though. The whole place is hidden, being as it is the underworld. So I can't speculate on what these hidden paths might be. All those times they end up walking on the walls, I suppose. Not bad, but that's clearly not all. What's all this over here? A fan on the floor and a fan in motion. Now it seems like I could go back and attempt to retrieve a box, but the height of that fan would give me a much more interesting idea. Whether grabbing the box was intentional or not, it bobs just high enough to do so. And of course down here I could have just launched the box out, grabbed the fan and carried it with me, but I think this is the first time I've done this, so that's all the justification you're getting. If you can recall, this obelisk has a star on top. It requires a fan powered by a blue laser to get up there. That's software generations, mind you. You could be talking minutes. But again, maybe he has the instructions per second of the Fujitsu K computer. 10 quadrillion, was it? Otherwise known as 10 petaflops. Yeah, that version was 55.1. The one on the obelisk was 55.3. Poor dog. I'm sad I couldn't turn up the water effects a bit. This would have looked a lot less ridiculous, I expect. That telltale whirring. I managed to liberate the fan before I found where it was supposed to go. I'll save you the trip, though. Now, if this isn't familiar to you, now I shouldn't judge or discriminate. It's the album cover for Pink Floyd's The Dark Side of the Moon. I guess the developers thought, well, we've got these lasers. What else symbolic, iconic, has lasers in it? Oh, go on, let's touch it. So I'd worry about this video getting picked up for copyright infringement, but a short section of me talking over the sound of blowing wind was also matched with third-party content, so I really don't care. So I failed at this puzzle for a bit. The first time I didn't make it far enough. You need to use every single object in the room. That includes the fan. So you have to trailblaze all the way to the end, then come back and create this little setup that opens the final door. So while I get on that, let's go through the second log file. This one is called Coming Soon. and it's an email from Rob McLean, who is the software engineer on the Extended Life project, and it's an email to his mum. His mom. He talks about how the project is very eminent, the people on it are like science rock stars, and he wants to go home before it's too late. So there's nothing secretive about the project, or about the fate of all humankind. He's free to send emails back and forth to his family with impunity. It does paint an extremely positive picture of society in general. A huge amount of trust has been placed where you might not think it would befit. I was hoping like hell that I'd stood on that first switch for long enough. Turns out I almost had long enough just by the time it took to come and get that fan. Rob ends his email by saying, "Dad would be totally geeking out if he knew. Maybe I can tell him about it soon, huh?" Which is a amazingly dark turn. Maybe everybody's gotten a bit conditioned to it. My past self here is absolutely convinced I'm using this time to set up what I did right at the start. Come along now. One more puzzle to go in some odd direction. The last log file is another blog entry. This one is a bit... maybe it's meaty? I don't know. It starts with, "What is the point of being alive?" It's an attempt to... everybody's thought of the question, but have you, right here, now, reading/listening to this, actually seriously thought about it? Huh? Any thoughts? Anything I say myself is going to be inadequate. It's a big, hairy question for a reason. My most sarcastic response would be, I exist in order to not obsess over and fall to pieces, desperately trying to establish why I exist. I also exist in order to completely break this puzzle. I don't think this was intended. 2 turrets and 2 gates, and this setup takes away half of the threats. The rest of this room was pretty much just trial and success. I also exist to, be a grain of sand in the pyramid, rather than a cog in the machine. Easy enough for me to say given the age, culture, race and gender I was born into. But still it's pretty much essential to think we're all working towards something. My personal thoughts are we exist to make other people's existences pretty cool. Hoping many others do the same, thus creating millions of tiny feedback loops that occasionally lash out into the wider world, improving quality of life and understanding, and treating humanity like a thing larger than it is, just in case it is. Or we could just be working towards less universal entropy. Massively underestimating my real self once again. Almost there. I've got the fan, just need the blue laser now. I think there's 2, maybe 3 puzzles in this room I could get that from. I went back to the terminal now so I'd have something to talk about while I fumbled around. Oh yes, we'd met a friend online. I'm not going to just shout them down. I want to hear more about what they have to say. I agree, but it's worth expanding upon. On the whole, it feels more planned than not. Seems unlikely. My first answer is a bit of a non sequitur, so let's choose that one. See what happens. Well, that's your lot. There's a bit more inquisitiveness, too much to ask. If you wanted an opinion, I'd say it's clearly a setup. I'm sure these terminals are safe. Oh look, I found a backdoor. I'm just about to tell you, but oh no, what's happening? I guess it's still worth talking, just on the off chance. Personally, I take suspicion quite well, because I really enjoy justifying myself. And people who are that invested in what you're up to are usually quite good listeners. I feel like I've done more with fewer objects before. A box should be all I need, surely. It's a bonus that the geometry is tangible. Well, my first plan, as always, involved stacking the box at a diagonal, trying to get a little bit of extra height. But since that's least interesting, I jump straight to my second plan. The fan plan. You can't connect while jumping, duly noted. My thoughts here were basically I could move the box to make the connection, but then I'd have to get back and keep the connection while moving the box, and in the end I just went with my gut. I'd forgotten how good this feels to watch. It's like reaching a whole new plateau of possibilities. Haha, timeless. Had to actually retrieve the prog rock fan first. So there's been a flashing C for the duration of this video. First priority is to do away with that. Otherwise, well, Chamber 6 has 3 sigils and no stars, so I'll try to squeeze that in with something else, make some decent headway. This game is desperate for another story beat right about now. I exist, therefore I serve a purpose. Let's just leave it at that.